I'm going to show you how to get paid to live in your house. And you can buy this house with zero down today. I'm going to break this whole deal down. Go ahead, stay tuned and watch this video. Hey, what's going on? This is Hawk Mikado, the innovative investor here at Really Happy. I just wanted to share a breakdown of this deal that's currently on the market, and it's actually not priced at this. It's priced a little over than this. So first of all, I would negotiate that they cover the costs of the down payment and the closing costs. And there are ways to do this with the right lender. We have a lender that is really crafty with this kind of stuff. And you can get down payment assistance over, ultimately, you have zero down payment. Here's how this would work. This is a fourplex unit that would allow you to invest in this unit. All you would really need would be a 660 credit score and a couple of other things you'd have to qualify with the lender. But doing a first-time homebuyer FHA loan, buying this quadplex, this is a 4-unit, right? So you can see right here, 4 units. This is a 4-unit, and it's priced at just over $600,000. I would have the financed amount be about $580,000. And the remaining would be, ideally, we would negotiate it so that it's paid for by the actual seller through down payment assistance, through seller credits to the buyer, and that would also include all of the commissions. So this would be kind of what the actual loan amount would be, and that's what I've taken this at. So I just wanted to point that out here. That's what this is. Now, it doesn't make you much money. It's going to make $8 a month. But here's what I did, and here's how I ultimately did this, right? So we're saying, hey, $580,000 is the loan amount. Again, some of these numbers are off. I manipulated it for the purposes of this actual this example. The value, I see the value is about $600,000. It might be a little bit more, it might be a little bit less, but my comps on it came out at about $600,000. So we break this down. If you were to rent all 4 units, now each unit is a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. All 4 units would rent for a total of about $6,688 or $80, which if we were to say you're going to live in one of those, right? Then I'm going to say, hey, there's a 25% vacancy. So that would leave that would cost basically a $1,670, which means that you would make a total of $5,010 in income per month. Now, again, this doesn't assume any other vacancy, but this is where we're coming in. So I overestimated the expenses because the bank will accept 75% of this right here, 75% of this. The bank will accept that as as your income to qualify for the property. And so we reduce this again by 20 this, and this also includes, by the way, your property taxes, insurance, things like that. But that's why they say, hey, we're going to take 25% off the top, and you can claim 75% of that as income. So your income immediately increases by $3,751, or a total of $938 per unit, but you're living in one of those units, technically speaking. And you're living in it. Not only are you living in it for free, but you're actually getting paid $8 per month to actually live in that unit, which is obviously great. So, and after taxes, you'll only make $6 a month per unit. The cap rate on this is nearly 8%. Now, again, this is a 4-plex, so cap rate is ultimately not calculated when it comes to a lot of the different, when it comes to the actual loan itself. Now, this only thing that this purchase criteria doesn't qualify for is it doesn't make you $150 a month or more, but you're living in it for free. So it's technically making approximately $1,600 per month net. And if we reduce that by 20, maybe even 40%, we say, hey, it's making you $1,000 a month. This right here is an amazing deal. Now, let's just say, hey, this price, we're not able to get it at the 580. You got to put, 30,000 down or 20,000 down, something like that. 30,000 would be 5%. So you have to put 5% down, and then you're able to qualify for this property. Look, if you can get 30,000 down, and again, you can figure out ways to get that from all sorts of different sources, and that becomes a part of that, and that's ultimately the cost of you living there, is all that is. And in a year from now, you can turn around and leave that property, sell it to a trust, to yourself ultimately, and then do this whole process over and over and over again, and you can live rent free. You can have your own private place, and this is a great opportunity. So let's look at some of the other things that equity multiples are great, return on investment is great, and here's the full breakdown, right? So I'm assuming a 3% per year appreciation, which, by the way, on property can be way higher than 3% per year. You can increase your income by 2% per year. And some years it might be higher, some years it might be lower. We'll keep the expenses equal to the income. Usually this is not, it's usually even higher income to expense ratio. And then, of course, when you sell, what are your costs to sell this property? So, again, I'm saying, hey, you lived in this thing for the entire time. So you're making a total operating income of $60,000 per year. And you get to live rent free, and it covers all the different things, right? The only thing you're doing is managing it yourself, right? You're paying yourself in rent. That's how you're paying yourself, is by living there. Now you might want to add in some landscaping or some improvements down the road, right? So, years 2, 3, 4, whatever, you might add in some things, and just keep that in mind. But as you see here, in year 2, you're making $1,000. So you can take this $1,000 and put it back into, a capital expenditure. You could hire a property manager or somebody to help with some of this stuff part-time, right? You can put a little bit of money back into the property. As you go down further, right, we look at the fact that you can now, you're gaining interest and depreciation rather. So that means that you can deduct a lot of money. You can actually deduct more than your income coming in, which is amazing because this allows you to reduce your tax basis. So imagine if you're making, even if you're making $50,000 a year right now, or less potentially, and you buy this property, you could potentially get yourself, to eliminate your taxes. Talk to to your tax obligations, I should say, not eliminate your taxes completely, but how much you owe on your taxes by having these deductions. And year 1 equity, you gain 45,000. Year 2, you're at 72. Year 3, you're at almost 100, right? So on and so forth. By year 30, you could potentially have $1.5 million in total equity in this property, which is amazing. Of course, that's after you've paid it off as well. But this is the power of investing in the right properties. Now, if let's say you were to sell at year 5, right, you can net $100,000 in year 5, and you would have lived there rent free for that entire time, which is another $100,000 in actual value to you. Plus, you've accumulated cash flow, right? You've increased cash flow, you've increased your income, the whole 9 yards throughout this process. So if you want to find out more about this deal and be able to get this specific deal, this is going to go quickly. This is not something that's going to be on the market long. I find these deals, once a month I find a deal like this, and I want you to get in it fast. So if you're looking to be an investor, you're looking for your first investment, you want to buy your first home, you don't even own your first home, you can do this as a first-time home buyer. Or if you meet the other qualifications as a first-time home buyer, there are other ways to qualify, even if you've owned a home previously, then let's have a conversation. Comment below, send me a DM, and let's chat. Till then, have a blessed day.